Good afternoon, everyone. This is Lisa Marie here at Insurance Agency Marketing Services. I am an annuity sales director here. We'll get started here shortly. Today we will have our guest speaker, Dave Pimper, on as a presenter. Dave has been a top producer for IAMS for many years. He is well known in the industry, especially in our area and the Omaha area. He has two offices nearby, one in a small town outside Omaha called Fremont, and one here in Omaha itself. Dave has been on many top producer trips with us. He's consistently a top agent. He is known for his Social Security seminars as well as his Retirement Boss radio program. Also well known just for his understanding of the industry and understanding of sales and in the senior market. We have several different webinars that we do with Dave here at IAMS. Many of these 2020 sales focus webinars are on different sales techniques and like little snippets of information to help you grow your business and just things that he uses in his coaching um, with other agents. He has a coach with us as well. He does coach agents in the senior market and for these different programs that we have available to us and that you have available to you as agents with IAMS. He has referred many producers to us in the past, gosh, I've known him 10 years. I'm guessing he's been with IAMS close to 20. He's known us for a very long time. Some things that we talk about in these seminars are different sales techniques that work well for Dave and for his agents under him and for those that he coaches. Today, we're going to talk about handling objections. I know that objections are a very difficult thing to overcome when you are talking to clients. This is a big pain point for agents like you and even for us in the IMO industry and getting things taken care of and getting our clients to understand us and trust us. As our presentation goes on, if you have any questions, I would like you to type those in, and Dave will be setting some time aside to go over those questions and answer them. So you can just type them into the question box as you have time. Usually what we go over near the end is our Life and Annuity Academy. We do have one coming up in August. I'm going to go ahead and do that now as Dave is still preparing to get online here. We have our Life and Annuity Academy that is coming up in August. It's usually a 3-day academy. The one that we are about to have one here next week, actually, here in Omaha. So we're preparing for that. That one is completely full. We're bursting at the seams. We usually have 30 to 45 agents at these academies. The one in our office, we only have room for about 30. It's a great time to learn from other top agents in the field. Our academy is a great time to learn from each other. And we have some great presenters. A lot of IMOs do academies or getaway type things where they really only talk about product at the carrier and product. We do cover some products, especially ones that are newer or hot in the market, but most of it really is about how to grow your business and what sales techniques are good in our business right now and what's working. We have so many options available to you. So while we're waiting for Dave to get on here, I'm going to go ahead and launch a poll because I want to see if you are interested in in getting more information on the All Expenses Paid Life and Annuity Academy. I would like to know that. You don't be afraid to say no. I always like to say if you don't want any info, say no. If you do, say yes. Just go ahead and answer that. Because if you'd like information, we start to fill these up really fast. They always sell out every time. We are starting to get our list together for the Academy in August, and we will continue to get more names and such as we get closer to that time. This is all expenses paid Academy. We pay for your flight, we pay for your hotel, we pay for your food while you're here. We just make sure that you're completely taken care of and have the opportunity to learn and to grow and to get to know us as your IMO. Most of the time you spend your time you're with your insurance marketing organization, you never meet one person. They're, we're in Nebraska, you're in California, et cetera, so you never see anybody. But these academies are a great way to really see people face to face and see what's going on in the industry. All right, I'm only going to leave that up for a few more seconds, and then we'll close that out. All right, we're going to close that. Dave should be hopping on here any second now, but we will go to our first slide. This is one that he talks about often, of be consistent. So establish a proven track record to handle those objections. A big thing is if you have almost a script in your head as to how you would like to handle these things and how you kind of have an idea of the top 2 or 3 objections that you get and already know what you're going to say ahead of time and be consistent, you're going to have a lot less of a problem, speaking about that and speaking to that in a way that your client understands. Anything that you do over and over again, you get better at as you go on. Everything becomes easier with repetition. Another big thing that I hear Dave talk about is cushion the objection. So say when you hear that objection, is kind of sandwich it between, oh, I saw Dave pop on. Hey, Dave. I think he's starting to be able to hear me. So I'm going to let him take over here. Sorry, everybody. I think Dave was having some technical difficulties there, so I was getting started for him, but I believe he should be able to hop on here. Hang in there, everyone. Dave, are you there? All right.
Hello.
There you are. I thought you were there.
I'm sorry, I got hung up in an appointment.
Yeah, we talked a little bit. I talked a little bit about you. I went through just the very first slide of being consistent, and you're right here at cushioning the objection.
You bet. Okay, good. We'll go on in, and I will take her from here. I apologize that I'm a little bit late, everybody.
Hey, that happens when you're helping people out.
Well, I'm working. I'm a producer, and I coach also. My name is Dave Pimper. Been around for a long time. Started the business in '81, early '80s, so 42 years this year in July. I've coached for IAMS and run production through IAMS for 18 years. That's really when I started the fixed index side of my business. I had done fixed annuity business, but not fixed index until about 2000, give or take about 2005 is when I started. But I do a lot of sales coaching, and you know, the sales business. I mean, just the process of sales. It's easy. It is easy. I mean, you get in front of enough people and you close them. Yeah, but we all know that it isn't simple, is it? It's not. And what happens here is that the process of selling, I think, is extremely important. And I'm a very much of a process salesperson. I have a process. I mean, it's just like you take a tremendous golfer like well, when Tiger Woods was at his prime, he had a process. He didn't change it. I mean, if he was on flat ground 100 yards out, he hit the same club every time. I mean, he knows the distance. He knows how that club hits over and over and over. That's what we want to do with the sales process. The reason I wanted to bring up handling objections, if a person goes in and says, I got a question, or here's something that bothers me, that interaction is gold, I think, in the sales process. It basically means they have interest enough to take it to that next level. So when and I'm doing this off of a fixed index annuity presentation, but say you're showing $100,000, the person is there, he gets down to the end, and hey, you got any questions? Yeah, I do. I got one concern. Well, what's that? Well, it's the liquidity. That's my concern, the liquidity. Well, here's what the normal salesperson does. I don't know. Remember I told you that's 10% free withdrawal. No, remember I told you if you get terminally ill, that if you get a note from your doctor, you can get your money. If you're in a wreck, they sell, and you know what? They sell and sell and sell. What I want you to do is ask a question or make a statement here. I want to go in and make that questionnaire feel like they did a good job of asking it. So that person says, "Hey, I'm just concerned about liquidity." What I do is I say, I go in and push. I say, "Hey, you know what? That was a great question. I'm glad you brought that up. A great question. I'm glad you brought that up." It makes them feel good about themselves. So when you feel good about yourself, you feel good about me, the salesperson. And you notice I'm not saying the advisor, the agent. We're a salesperson. It's okay to say that word. It's not. You're not going to go to hell for saying sales. A salesperson. I'm proud to be a professional salesperson. I help people, like Lisa Marie said, we help people all the time. In fact, it was a little longer appointment. It wasn't a big deal, but it's one I've been working on for a while. It's a transferring of $25,000 from a retirement plan, actually 2 retirement plans, and then he wrote $25,000 out of his checkbook. But the nice thing is, he's worth about $6 million because he owns a farm, but he has about $1 million other than this that's in at the bank. I mean, I hope I can tap into that money if I do a good job for him here. So what happens is, hey, I'm glad you brought that up. Then what happens is I'm going to go in and I call it, let me keep going here. I call it narrowing it down. So what concerns you most about that liquidity? See, I'm not selling. Hey, good job. I'm glad you brought that up. Hey, could you help me out? What concerns you most about talking about liquidity here? Well, pretty soon now, this is where the rubber meets the road. And the guy says, well, we've been thinking about putting windows in our house, and I just would like to have enough money to do that. And I said, will it come from this money? And he says, yes. Now, if he needs windows and he's going to put windows on in the short near future, well, yeah, we don't put $100,000 in. You might miss out on a high band on a fixed index. Maybe you put $90,000 in, or $80,000, or $70,000, however much those windows cost. But I said to him, how much do you think those windows will cost? He said, well, we were going to do this about 4 or 5 years ago, and we just have put it off. but I think in today's dollars, it'll probably run us about $8,000. The windows on each side of the front door. Well, so what I said, so do you think you're going to do it this year? He said, well, we always think we're going to do it. We probably won't, but it is a concern for me. So then I go in and I say, well, you know what? If you can kind of remember, I talked about that 10% free withdrawal. We could hold the money out, but of course it's not earning hardly any at the bank right now. We could hold it out, or we just put it on in, and if you don't need it, then it's all deferred. But if you do need it, you can get 10%. So on that 100, you can get 10 grand. And then next year you can get 10 grand. If the account's worth 100,000, next year 10%, next year 10%. I mean, in 5 years, this is what I do. In 5 years, give or take, you basically take out, say, 40,000 plus, from your account and never pay one iota of surrender charge. You think you'd need more than $40,000 in the next years? Well, they say, of course they don't. They don't need that. Okay, they're going to invest it. I could say also to isolate it, is that your biggest concern? Is that the one thing that would kind of hold you up on this? Is that really your one major negative thought process here? You can isolate it. Sometimes I do that. Sometimes I do not. Now I like a story. So that story about the windows, or that story about it's the 10%, and over 4 years is 40 plus thousand, or 5 years is 40 plus thousand. People like stories. Stories sell. Facts tell. Who's factual? What profession? Engineers, architects, scientists. How many of those are great salespeople? Not as many, because they're usually very left-brained individuals. They're not as creative. They're not as big picture. But when they get honed in, my dad was an electrical engineer. He was very good with those blinders on, but bombs could be going off on the side. So we answer with the story because stories sell. Facts tell. We don't want to tell. We want to sell. We want to professionally sell. Give them reasons why this is something that's going to fit their needs. That's very, very important. When a person stalls, and the most common stall is, I got to think about it. That's the most common stall. Or I've got to talk to my wife about it, my brother about it, my dog, my hamster about it. Those are stalls. But the most common one is the stall of, I have to think about it. So if a person says, I've got to think about it, the worst thing you can do is to say, what do you got to think about? There's nothing to think about here. Look at the benefits. That's the worst thing. I want to make them feel good, so what do? I say something to make them feel good. I compliment them on their decision. Hey, I understand that. I understand you want to think about it, but here's the key thing. I say, so just let me. What's the one or two things that concerns you about this strategy? What's holding you up for just doing it now? Now, if they say to you the truth, they say, well, it's the liquidity. Now you got something you can work with. So when a person stalls me, I got a $2 million account. The guy came to me and he said, you know what? He said, I would just have to think about this. And I said, hey, Kevin, you know what? I understand. I mean, it's certainly a decision. Can I ask this? What's holding you up from just doing it now? I mean, what's holding you up? He said, well, the broker's been pretty good to me. He's been pretty loyal, but I just don't think the returns have been very good. I kind of let him talk himself. He said, well, I could do it now. I said, well, let's just get it done. And he did it. And 12 years later, he's a $2 million client for me. So handling stalls is handled similarly to just handling objections. I memorize now. I haven't done this for a long time, but when I started, especially in the fixed index, I thought of the 5 most common questions that come up about that particular product. One of the key question is, hey, I've just heard bad things about annuities. You don't go in and say, well, those people are stupid. Annuities are great. The government's putting them in 401k plans. I mean, they've been around since the Roman Greek time. No, you don't. Whatever they say, I've heard bad things about annuities. You know what? I understand. I'd be surprised if you wouldn't bring that up. Like they're smart doing it. Make them feel good. People who feel good have a better chance of doing business with you. No doubt about it. If any questions, just type them on in. I'll be more than happy to go in and answer those for you. Yeah, I coach a lot of different things, so this happens to be on handling objections to stalls. It's just one of the many facets of sales process, and I coach that over 3 sessions from start to finish: the presentation, the fact finder, the close, stalls, commitment lines. I mean, and they work not just for fixed index, but of course for securities in general, wealth management, life insurance. And, Medicare's a little different thing because it's a one-stop sale normally because of the size of the sale. But people hire coaches because they can look at that from the outside and really hopefully give you a good insight of what to change that will truly help your production. Okay, so as we're finishing here, there's an old saying that says, procrastination is my sin. It brings me constant sorrow. I really shouldn't practice it. Perhaps I'll stop. Well, tomorrow never comes, does it? You heard something? Maybe I need to talk to Dave Pimper, or you're lagging in production right now. And I tell you, I don't write a ton of great big deals, but I do a lot of small stuff. I mean, yesterday I did one for 100. I did another for 50 yesterday. I did one this morning for 22,500. Just got done with another 50. I mean, it doesn't happen every day, but and my big appointment rescheduled on me today. She's got 800,000. So that was a second appointment, but she rescheduled. But I'll tell you right now, being in front of people, whether it be seminar, digital, radio host, I mean, all those, you've got to get in front of enough people. You can be the greatest salesperson and not talk to anybody, and you're just a broke, great salesperson. So if there's something where you said, I think Dave Pimper might be able to help me, absolutely mark yes on this. Lisa Marie just put that up. Would you like more information on? And it should say anything to do with uh, production coaching or anything to do with seminars, radio, handling objections, sales process, Social Security. We do a lot with Social Security. It's a pretty cool subject to go in and promote because 94% of all Americans, they do have will get a Social Security benefit. 70 million people are getting a Social Security benefit right now. That's one out of every 5 man, woman, and child is getting a benefit. They're not going to do away with it. They're just going to make it stronger. It's the benchmark of financials in the U.S. If you'd like some coaching up on Social Security, I can do that also. So what we'll do here is, Lisa Marie, I want to turn this over to you, see if we have any questions, and then we'll button this up for the day.
Oh, there we go. Sounds good. I didn't press my
There you are.
unmute
There
button
you came
fast
back to
enough.
life.
I did. As you said, I'm not the greatest tech person around, but I'm nice to talk to. Yeah, we do have one question. He says that he primarily deals in final expense.
Okay.
He said that, you spoke a lot about annuities. So what is an objection that you might come across with final expense type things, or more of a life insurance policy type question or objection that you
Right.
could give an example for?
Well, let me think on that for a second. So, since I don't do life, I really don't. I mean, I've only written probably 4 life or 3 life policies in my entire life, and they're just, it's a universal indexed life where they have big cash values. I've rolled over. So that really isn't my bailiwick. But let's say a person goes in and just says, here's what happens is I I'm 50 years old, and I mean, I know I could die anytime, but gosh, you know what? I'm most likely, my mom's still living. She's 89, and my dad, he died at 82. Yeah, I just don't think I need that final expense. So, what you're going to tell them about everything that comes and the price is locked in and all the different things on final expense. But what happens, or life insurance in general, but what happens here is I listen to that and I say, hey, you know what? You're right. Not that it's a good point to bring on up. But let me just say this: what 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 concerns you the most about, and whatever he said? Let's just say I just don't think I need it because I just don't feel I'm old enough. What concerns you? I mean, are you going to say that you don't think it's important, or what concerns you most about buying the policy? I'd have to drill it down. That I didn't really say an objection there because I don't know that industry real well. What if it was in wealth management for for the stock market, and the person says, yeah, I just don't know if I want to put the mark. I also don't know I want to put the money in right now because the stock market's so volatile. And then you come back to me, cushion it. Hey, you're right. It is volatile. I understand your concern. Hey, what concerns you most about the volatility? See, that's a true objection, you know. Or a person says, I heard annuities are bad. Hey, it's a good point. A lot of people think that. What specifically do you think is bad about an annuity? But you say whatever you just parrot it back, ask them, get them talking. So that I don't know if I really answered that on the final expense because that's not my bailiwick. I don't know all the ins and outs on that, but but you don't go in and snub them. The worst thing, if I'm speaking at a public event and I'm speaking on Social Security claiming, and a person raises their hand and they say, which is quite common, this comes up. Person raises their hand and they say, "Hey, Dave, I know this is a stupid question." Well, here's the worst thing you can do is to say, "You know what? You're right. It probably will be a stupid question." you know, that makes them feel bad. You want to go in and say, "Hey, what is that?" No, no, there's no stupid questions. I mean, a lot of people, if they have the intestinal fortitude to raise their hand, they'd want to know the answer too. Go right ahead. Everybody's going to enjoy this. So that's what you say. You make them feel good. And once they feel good about themselves, you hope they feel good about you, which in turn they feel good about the product. People buy from us, Lisa, because they like us first, builds into trust second, and then down the list, but it's still top three, it's a good financial strategy for them and they can see how it's going to benefit them. So those are the 3 most important things. So don't make people smile. Don't tick people off. Don't talk politics. Don't talk religion. Don't talk things personal. I always say that money is green. It's not red. It's not blue. It's green. And that covers all the bases. And I think that's the most important thing to remember is that, we're there to help them find a better financial solution for them. We get compensated in a pretty big way by doing that, but we're well worth it in the long haul. I just had a meeting yesterday. A guy came in about 13, 14 years ago. Um, he was about 52 or 3. We started doing business once in-service non-hardship was available. We took quite a bit out, but he was telling me that if he could just make it to 500,000, he'd be elated. 500,000, he'd be elated by the time that if he could just amass a fortune like that. Yeah, right now it's worth 800,000. He's elated. I mean, that was one of my sales of 23,000. You know what he told me? This happened to be a non-traded. It was a non-traded real estate investment trust that went full cycle and traded. Went into his brokerage account. It was a small account, 23,000, just under $23,000. And I said, you know what I think we should do with that money? And before I could even tell him what I thought we should do with it, he said, "Dave, whatever you want to do, that's fine with me." I said, well, I've got to tell you what it is. I got to give you a prospectus. I got to show you the investment. But I said I can do that by phone and make sure I get everything to you. He goes, well, that's fine. But he said, you know what? I trust you. Well, that's what happens when you work with someone. You've done a good job with them. You've treated them good. That's the way we should treat our clients. Salespeople are vitally important to the United States of America. I mean, we make things happen. How do you get something if you can't buy something if a salesperson was never there? So take pride in being who we are, what we do, and how we can help people.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. And thank you, Dave, for
You bet.
coming in and going over these things with us. We
Yeah,
always appreciate
absolutely.
you. Yeah, keep an eye out for Dave's webinars. We have different topics, and he's a great one to learn from. I appreciate everyone that voted and for everyone's patience as we got everything figured out. But, everyone just have a great rest of the week. And, like he said, don't be afraid and don't be ashamed of being a salesperson because you're not just selling someone, you're helping someone.
You bet. Absolutely. Well, have a great afternoon. Be very productive today and tomorrow. Have a good
All
weekend, you
right,
guys.
you too. Bye bye.
Bye.